A very good evening to one and all. I welcome you all to this news analysis initiative. Today we will start with an inspiring personality, Arunima Sinha. Arunima Sinha is an Indian mountaineer and former national volleyball player who lost her leg after being pushed from a moving train in 2011. Despite this tragedy, she trained to become the first female amputee to climb Mount Everest in 2013. She went on to climb the highest peaks on all seven continents and now runs a sports academy to help the disabled and underprivileged. She has written an autobiography, Born Again on the Mountain. You can use Miss Arunima Sinha as an example for resilience, women empowerment, disability inclusion, and the power of human will in ethics paper and essay. Now, the first article for today is the Supreme Court has now agreed to examine a petition that basically says even the rupees 2000 cash donation rule should be stopped. As of now, political parties can receive donations up to rupees 2000 without disclosing who the donor is. This is allowed under section 13A of the Income Tax Act 1961. Now, what the petitioner is arguing is this rupees 2000 rule is being used as a loophole. What the petitioner is arguing is straightforward. This rupees 2000 rule is being used as a loophole. If it is a small cash amount, the identity stays hidden but the money keeps flowing. That's the problem. The petitioner says this goes against the voter's right to information under Article 19, Clause 1, Clause A, because voters have a right to know who is funding political parties so that they can vote with full awareness. So the point here is, after the electoral bonds judgment, court is clearly pushing for full transparency in political funding, and this case will go one step further again, targeting this anonymous cash donations. Okay. The next article for the day is, do tigers actually live in Goa or not? Okay. In one matter before a Supreme Court, Goa said that they don't have any permanent tigers, rather they just pass through. But in other earlier case, Mahadai River dispute, Goa said that Goa has a resident tigers, stable habitat and a proper tiger corridor. Now, why this contradiction in the first place? Because in the river case, showing tiger presence will help their argument. But now the court has asked them to declare a tiger reserve, and this would involve land restrictions and relocation of people. So, and also Bombay High Court has ordered that Goa should declare Madai region a tiger reserve within 3 months, and this is now challenged in Supreme Court. So, what you should be knowing from UPSC's perspective? The first one, you should be knowing about the Mahadai River. The second, the Madai Wildlife Sanctuary and Beamgard Wildlife Sanctuary and Anshi Dandeli Tiger Reserve. And then you should also know about the NTCA guidelines, National Tiger Conservation Authority, a guideline of 800 to 1000 square kilometer of inviolate space for tiger reserve. These are the things you should be knowing. The next editorial is regarding Supreme Court's presidential reference. Okay, here we have already seen this article in detail, and here are some 3 points which are very important from mains perspective. The first one is, Sarkaria Commission report has told that the discretion that is available under Article 200 is narrow, and the current advisory has actually widened the scope. Okay, that is the first point. The second one is, The court has clarified in earlier judgments under Hargovind Pant versus Raghukul Tilak that governor is not an employee of the union. And there are various commissions like Sarkaria, Venkatachalaya, and Punchi Commission, and they have prescribed the modes through which governors should be appointed. However, these commission's recommendations are not being followed. And the third point is an eminent person, Soli Sorabji, he told that the post of the governor is used as a consolation prize, that was told. The next editorial. This editorial talks about something known as polarization. So, what do you mean by polarization? Polarization means a situation where people in a society split into rigid opposing groups that refuse to understand or engage with each other. It creates an us versus them mindset. Okay. Polarization happens when people stop listening to others' viewpoints, and there is mostly like white or black. There is no mixed feelings. And philosopher J. Garfield, he warns that polarization will erode civil discourse, which is a very backbone of the democracy itself. And he told that we need to speak across divides with openness and humility, and we should view our opponents not as enemies but as fellow humans. The next editorial, the labor and honor. In this, there was a term Indian Labor Conference. Okay, the Indian Labor Conference, what it means? The Indian Labor Conference is basically India's labor parliament. It works exactly on the model of the International Labor Conference of the ILO. It is a tripartite body bringing all three stakeholders, government, employers, and workers. This is the highest level of consultative platform in the Ministry of Labor. The very first ILC, it was held in 1942, and since then 46 sessions have been held, and the last session took place in 2015, and after that no meeting was held. This ILC session usually they discuss regarding wages, social security, labor laws, etc. India has ratified ILO Convention 144, which holds that this conference is not just good practice, rather it is actually a legal obligation. The next article for the day is Bridging India's Numeracy Gap. The National Education Policy 2020 recognizes foundational literacy and numeracy as the base of all future learning, and the Nipun Bharat mission has helped improve these foundational outcomes. However, despite measurable gains in literacy, numeracy continues to lag significantly, and it is threatening the long term learning and educational progression. Okay, the current scenario is under annual survey of education report given by Pratham NGO. It shows a stark gap of 48.7 percentage of class 5 students can read fluently, but only 30.7 percentage can solve basic division, and no state has numeracy outcomes higher than literacy outcomes. And the studies also show a disconnect between classroom math and real life applications, because students struggle to transfer these skills into real life, and there is a visible high failure rates in math and science, and many students drop out before class 10 because of this. And there is a persistent learning gap owing to COVID-19 disruptions, and this foundational literacy and numeracy interventions, it ends at class 3, while 70 percentage of class 5 and 50 percentage of class 8 students still cannot do basic division. So what are the reforms that has to be taken care of? The first one is we have to extend this foundational literacy and numeracy to till class 8. The second one is we have to introduce the plus skills, that is we have to include fractions, decimals, percentages, and so on. And we have to shift the pedagogy beyond the basics, like we have to use child friendly and activity based methods for higher concepts, so that it will be easier for the kids to understand. And the fourth one is we have to integrate the real life problem solving into the numeracy, because this will help them to solve practical problems, and this will make their learning relevant as well as durable. Because improving foundational numeracy is not just an academic requirement, it is a critical social and economic investment. The next article is this essay's advisory opinion, where we have various commissions and judgment examples. Here we will look into the first one. That is, there are like issues given. The first issue is the discretion of the governor. Traditionally, as per Sarkaria Commission, the only discretionary power of the governor under Article 200 was sending a bill for president's consideration, and that too only in rare cases of clear unconstitutionality. Okay, the Supreme Court itself has in various cases told, like Samshar Singh as well as in Nabam Rabia case, that governors must act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. But the current advisory interprets these judgments differently and says that the governor's actions under Article 200 may fall under discretion, which includes assent, withholding, and returning a bill. So, this means a governor can delay or block legislation which is passed by an elected state government. Okay. And the second issue is there is no time limits. The Punchi Commission in 2010 recommended a 6-month limit for governors to decide on bills. Also, like the disqualification of MLAs, the Supreme Court itself imposed a 3-month limit in KM Singh 2020 case. So, even though the constitution was silent, in KM Singh case, Supreme Court imposed this 3-month limit. Now, what is the way forward? The root problem is the politicization of the governor's office. Governors are appointed by the center, and when state and center are ruled by different parties, the tensions grow. But the governor's role is to act as a constitutional safeguard, and also federalism is a basic feature of the constitution. So this advisory should not become an excuse for the governors to obstruct policies. The next article for the day is infant deaths persist in tribal dominated Melghat. There are various challenges which are specified, that is the peripheral infrastructure gaps, that is poor roads making timely access to hospitals difficult, and inadequate electricity supply, as well as lack of primary healthcare centers. Then the second one is administration silos, because there is lack of coordination when multiple departments are working, and there is an inconsistent supplement delivery. The third one is there is shortage of medical personnel, because there is high absenteeism with respect to the doctors, pediatricians, and especially gynecologists. The fourth one is intergenerational malnutrition. When women being pregnant, she is underweight or anemic, and this is leading to low birth weight infants. And infants then have weak immunity and high infection vulnerability. And the fifth one is the substance abuse in that particular region, and it is contributing to poor household and health environment. So, what are the reforms that are suggested? The first one is we have to strengthen the healthcare system. We have to create a well functioning, integrated healthcare system which is providing nutrition and care to both mothers and children. The second one, we have to enhance the frontline workers by building a strong, well trained ASHA workers who have deep knowledge of health as well as nutrition. Next, the third one is we have to integrate health and nutrition, because we have to tackle morbidities only through coordinated programs, and we have to address the anemia, sickle cell disease, and also other infections. The fourth one is community centered, and we have to aim for this behavioral change. We need to promote awareness within communities on nutrition, hygiene, and maternal care. The fifth one is we have to improve the civic and the health infrastructure, that is, roads, electricity, and healthcare facilities, so that they can avail these systems in a very timely manner. This was basically in news because of around 65 infants have been died due to malnutrition since June 2025, and over 220 children fall under severe acute malnutrition, and under those 50% are at high risk of death. So that is why Bombay High Court has told that we need to intervene immediately. We have to bring in systemic reforms. And this is a very interesting article, especially from UPSC Prelims Science and Technology, because passengers now are able to access internet on aeroplanes, and there are two ways through which they can access internet. The first one is from through air to ground, and the second one is through satellite. So that are the first two things. And here air to ground will work in normal circumstances. However, when the airplane is traveling above ocean, or in polar areas, or in deserted areas, then this facility is we are not able to access this facility. So at such cases we will be using satellites. So historically we have been using the satellites which are at geostationary orbit. However, in recent times, at low Earth orbit is also being used. So this is very important. Initially, it was geostationary orbit, which is above 36,000 kilometer from the sea level, and now we are able to access from low Earth orbit itself. The next question is why the phones must be in airplane mode. This is a very common question, because it can interfere with the aircraft communication frequencies, and it will confuse the mobile networks, and that's why it is said that we have to keep our mobile phones in airplane mode. This article says that Chinese immigration officials detained an Arunachal Pradesh women at Shanghai airport, and she was insisted to apply for a Chinese passport. However, such actions actually reflect China's persistent visa politics, and it also questions India's sovereignty through non-military channels. The next article for the day is Navy gets silent hunter 80% homegrown Mahe. Okay, this is India's first Mahe class anti-submarine warfare, and this is a shallow watercraft. What's special is that over 80% of it is indigenous, which is designed and built by Cochin Shipyard Limited. This is seen as a major step toward Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense manufacturing. INS Mahe is called the silent hunter because it is built for a stealth and precision in shallow coastal waters. It can detect, track, and neutralize underwater threats using advanced sensors, weapons, and communication systems. And its role is to form the first line of coastal defense, working smoothly with submarines, aircraft, and larger warships. When I was going through this particular article, I found this quote which was very interesting. That is by Helen Keller. Okay, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. You can note it down. You can use this for writing in an essay with respect to teamwork. The next article is Gavi UNICEF Ink Deal. Okay, here what you have to focus on. The first one is you should be knowing about what is this Gavi. The second one, UNICEF. Then This is a malaria vaccine, which is R21 slash matrix M. You should be knowing that. Then there was a very important one, which is nothing but International Finance Facility for Immunization Mechanism. What does mean? It means that it is the world's first social bond. Okay, a novel financial instrument which was launched in 2006, and that has raised billions of dollars for childhood immunization, basically through issuing vaccine bonds on capital markets. Okay, and the proceeds of this fund actually goes to Gavi for life-saving immunization programs. Then you should be knowing about this Gavi's malaria vaccination program. UNICEF is the world's largest buyer of vaccines, delivering nearly 3 billion doses every year. Okay, then there are two vaccines of malaria. The one is R21 matrix M, which is developed by University of Oxford and Serum Institute of India, and the other one is RTS S/AS01. The next article for the day is this Ethiopia's Hayli Gubbi's volcano, which erupted after thousands of years. And this is a very interesting example of how events in one part of the world can directly affect the other. This volcano in Ethiopia erupted, and huge plumes of volcanic ash have traveled across Yemen, Oman, and they have entered India through western Rajasthan. Directorate General of Civil Aviation has issued strict advisories for airlines because the volcanic ash is extremely dangerous for aircraft because it contains abrasive and glass-like particles. Now what happens is, when these particles enter the jet engine, they will melt because there will be high temperature, and they will stick to the turbine blades, leading to the engine failure. Okay, that is why they have issued strict guidelines, and certain aircrafts have also been cancelled owing to this eruption. The next article with respect to this October demand, you should be knowing that World Bank releases this financial sector assessment report. Just note this report, it's more than enough. The next article for the day is this Graha gets nod for nano satellite launch. In this, you have to know about what is this in space. Okay, in space is an autonomous agency, and it reports to Department of Space. The primary role of this is to act as a single window interface between ISRO and private agencies or private space entities, and they also enable and authorize these private agencies to use ISRO's facilities and participate in space activities. Regarding this US Ukraine and this 28 point peace deal, currently it is on draft stage, and now Ukraine is looking into refine the framework that was given. However, we have to wait for this to for future articles, then we can look into this. The next article is Canada plans a citizenship rejig. Here you should be knowing what is this Bill C3. Earlier, Indian origin parents in Canada couldn't give Canadian citizenship to their kids who are born outside Canada. Now the new rule allows their children to get citizenship easily. So just know what is this Bill C3 means, and that is enough. And know also that it is from Canada. The last article for the day. Where does road dust settle in India's efforts to clean its air? This article explains why road dust remains one of India's biggest air pollution problems, even though we spend the maximum money on controlling it. Road dust mainly contains particulate matter 10, and the source appointment studies shows that road dust contributes around 20 to 52 percentage of particulate matter 10. Places in North India have the highest slit roads, that is, they have more loose soil on roads. Under the National Clean Air Program, we have spent around 19,700 crores, and 64% of this fund went to road dust control. But despite these fundings, 29 cities saw an increase in this particulate matter 10 levels. Why? Because the system has structural problems. The first one is fragmented responsibility. In Delhi alone, we have 12 different agencies to maintain roads. UP has 18, whereas Haryana has 22 and Rajasthan has 16. So when everyone is responsible, no one is accountable. Then Delhi needs around 200 mechanized sweepers, but currently it has only 85. So when you take other cities, they are even worse than that. Then the third one is dust disposal. The dust that is being collected is actually dumped on the roadside or in landfills or in open areas. Now what happens if the wind blows back? Then all these dust are coming back again. So there is no point in sweeping. Okay, the fourth one is the road quality is very poor because bad unpaved or broken roads actually lead to more dusty. The fifth one is the policies are mostly limited to the Delhi's NCR. The CAQM guidelines, dust management cells, road condition mapping, all these are focusing only on Delhi NCR. Whereas other Indian cities lack similar institutional frameworks. Okay, and we don't have a SOP, no national SOP for dust disposal and suppressants. And the last one is there is silos in administration departments, that is also adding to it. So what should be done? The simple thing is we need to focus upon science based national framework for road dust control. Second, we need to map all the roads using GIS. The third one, we have to develop these cleaning technology like mechanized sweepers. We need to think for an alternative. Then the fourth one is scientific dust disposal systems, and we need to strengthen urban planning. Okay, and the sixth one is we have to maintain better coordination. This is the place in news that we were saying, the Hayli Gubbi. It is the volcano and it is in Ethiopia. I thought that I should ask question of the day. What is random forest recently seen in news? Please post your answers in the comment section. We will discuss it tomorrow. Okay. Thank you all for joining. Thank you.